Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most shocking moments in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. A powerful explosion has once again rocked the Crimean Bridge, leaving it engulfed in flames after a dramatic midnight attack. This isn't just another strike, it's a direct hit on one of Russia's most symbolic structures, a bridge that represents not only logistics and transport, but also Putin's pride and control over Crimea. What really happened that night? How was this attack carried out? And what could it mean for the future of the war? Let's break down everything that unfolded in this daring and devastating event. The night was calm over the Kerch Strait, with traffic moving normally across the massive structure connecting Russia to the annexed Crimean Peninsula. But just after midnight, that calm was shattered. Witnesses reported a thunderous explosion followed by fire lighting up the sky. Flames spread across the bridge, illuminating the dark waters below. Videos soon began circulating online, showing columns of smoke rising hundreds of meters high. The images were stunning and terrifying. The bridge, that once stood as a symbol of strength, now looked like a burning reminder of vulnerability. Russian authorities were quick to confirm that something had gone terribly wrong. They called it a terrorist attack and pointed fingers at Ukraine. Within hours, officials began emergency evacuations, shutting down traffic and cutting off movement between Crimea and mainland Russia. Meanwhile, Ukrainian social media channels erupted with celebration, though Kiev's government kept official silence at first, allowing speculation to run wild. The Crimea Bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge, is not just any target. It's the longest bridge in Europe, stretching nearly 19 kilometers, linking Russia's Krasnodar region to the Crimean Peninsula. Since the start of the war, it has been a vital military supply route for Russian troops stationed in southern Ukraine. Destroying or even damaging it would deal a serious blow to Russia's logistics and military operations. This is why every attack on the bridge carries enormous symbolic and strategic weight. This was not the first time the bridge had come under attack. In October 2022, a massive truck bomb detonated on the bridge, collapsing part of the roadway and setting a train on fire. That earlier strike embarrassed Moscow and prompted immediate retaliation across Ukraine. Since then, Russia has poured millions into repairing and protecting the bridge, deploying air defense systems and increasing surveillance. Yet, despite those measures, the bridge has once again been hit, proving that no amount of defense can guarantee safety against a determined and whelp land strike. Eyewitnesses described the latest explosion as more precise and targeted than before. Satellite imagery later revealed extensive damage to one section of the roadway, and videos captured a secondary explosion that intensified the flames. Analysts suggest this could have been a coordinated drone or missile attack, possibly involving sea-based drones similar to those used by Ukraine in previous operations. Whatever the method, it demonstrated advanced planning, intelligence, and an ability to strike deep inside Russian-controlled territory. The timing of the attack was also critical. Coming just after midnight, it ensured maximum surprise and confusion. Traffic on the bridge was minimal, reducing civilian casualties but amplifying psychological impact. The explosion's timing also sent a clear message: nowhere is safe, not even one of the most heavily guarded infrastructure projects in the region. For Russia, it was a nightmare repeating itself. For Ukraine, it was a statement of capability and defiance. As news of the explosion spread, Russian officials rushed to contain panic. State media tried to downplay the scale of the damage, insisting that repairs would be swift. But satellite photos and independent footage told a different story. Large portions of the bridge's surface were blackened, and twisted metal debris hung over the water. Even though Russia reopened limited traffic on one lane later that day, the damage was undeniable. The attack had once again disrupted a key military and civilian artery linking Crimea to Russia's mainland. Ukraine's leadership didn't officially confirm responsibility, but multiple Ukrainian sources hinted that this was another strike carried out with precision. Analysts believe this operation was part of Kyiv's broader strategy to isolate Crimea, cut Russian supply lines, and weaken Moscow's ability to sustain its southern front. By repeatedly targeting the bridge, Ukraine is not only hitting Russia's logistics, but also undermining the illusion of control over occupied territory. This strike also sent shockwaves through the Russian population. Many Russians remember the previous explosion vividly, the flames, the panic, and the humiliation it brought to Moscow. Seeing the bridge in flames again reignited those feelings, creating doubt and anger. Social media platforms were flooded with reactions ranging from disbelief to outrage, with citizens demanding answers about how such a heavily fortified structure could be hit again. For Putin, this is a personal blow. The Crimea Bridge has long been a symbol of his political legacy. It was one of his most celebrated infrastructure achievements, inaugurated by him in person in 2018. He famously drove a truck across it to demonstrate its strength and permanence. Now, seeing it repeatedly damaged is not just a logistical issue, it's a deep political and psychological defeat. Each explosion chips away at the image of invincibility that the Kremlin has tried to project. The strike also exposes cracks within Russia's defense system. Despite billions spent on missile shields, radar systems, and counter-drone technologies, Ukraine continues to find ways to penetrate Russian defenses. Military experts argue that this shows a shift in modern warfare, where small, agile, and creative operations can outmatch even the most expensive defense networks. Ukraine's use of drones, both aerial and maritime, has become a defining feature of the conflict, offering an affordable yet effective counter to Russia's vast military machine. Internationally, the attack reignited debates about escalation. Western analysts warned that strikes on Crimea, particularly on high-profile targets like the bridge, risk provoking harsh retaliation from Moscow. Yet many also see this as a necessary part of Ukraine's strategy to reclaim occupied territory. As one defense expert put it, you can't win back Crimea without isolating it first. The bridge, in this sense, is both a physical and symbolic lifeline that Ukraine aims to sever. The aftermath of the attack brought swift responses. Russian forces launched a wave of missile strikes across Ukrainian cities, targeting power grids and infrastructure, a familiar cycle of retaliation. Air raid sirens wailed across Kyiv, Odessa, and other major cities, while Russia claimed these strikes were responses to terrorism. Ukraine called them acts of desperation, arguing that Moscow's focus on civilian infrastructure shows its frustration on the battlefield. In Crimea itself, panic spread quickly. Videos showed long lines of cars as residents attempted to flee the peninsula, fearing further attacks. Supply shortages followed as trucks carrying food and fuel were rerouted or delayed. For many Crimean residents, this latest attack served as a grim reminder that the war is inching closer to home. Despite Russian efforts to portray Crimea as fully secure, the repeated strikes have shattered that illusion. Meanwhile, Ukraine's allies in the West quietly celebrated the blow to Russian logistics. Analysts in Washington, London, and Brussels noted that the attack would complicate Russia's military operations in southern Ukraine, particularly around Melitopol and Kherson. Without the bridge functioning at full capacity, Russia would have to rely more on vulnerable ferry routes and land corridors that are within reach of Ukrainian artillery. Beyond the battlefield, this strike carries deeper meaning. It shows how the war has evolved from territorial battles into psychological warfare, a fight for symbols and narratives. Every explosion on the Crimea Bridge sends a message to the world. Ukraine can strike back, even against targets Russia once considered untouchable. It also signals to the Russian public that their government's grip over Crimea is weakening. Despite the destruction, Russia vowed to rebuild the bridge once again. But each reconstruction makes the symbolism weaker. The repeated need to repair it turns what was once a showpiece of strength into a recurring symbol of vulnerability. The Kremlin's insistence that everything is under control rings increasingly hollow as flames light up the Crimean sky time and again. As the war drags on, Ukraine's strategy appears clear. Target the arteries that keep Russia's occupation alive. Hitting the bridge doesn't just cause physical damage, it disrupts supply lines, delays reinforcements, and undermines morale. Every explosion forces Russia to divert resources from the front lines to repairs and defense, buying Ukraine time and leverage. At the same time, this strike sends a message to Ukraine's own people that their resistance is effective, that even the mightiest symbols of Russian power can burn. For a nation that has endured so much destruction, these moments of defiance matter deeply. They boost morale, strengthen resolve, and remind the world that Ukraine is far from defeated. Looking ahead, experts warn that this war is entering an even more unpredictable phase. With each attack on Crimea, tensions rise not only between the two nations, but also on the global stage. NATO closely watches these developments, wary of further escalation, while China and other countries with ties to Moscow grow uneasy about the direction of the conflict. The midnight explosion on the Crimea Bridge may have lasted only seconds, but its impact will be felt for months, perhaps years. It has reshaped strategies, shaken political confidence, and reminded both sides that this war is far from over. The burning bridge is not just a structure in flames. It's a metaphor for the crumbling sense of control, power, and illusion that once surrounded Russia's grip on Crimea. So as the world watches the footage of that fiery night, the smoke, the water, the chaos, one thing becomes clear. The war has entered a new phase where no target is safe and no defense is absolute. The Crimea Bridge, once a proud symbol of dominance, now stands as a warning of how quickly power can turn to ashes. And with that, the question remains, what will happen next? Will Russia retaliate harder, or will Ukraine continue pushing deeper into the symbolic heart of the conflict? One thing is certain. The flames that lit up the night over Crimea have illuminated more than just a bridge. They've revealed the shifting balance of a war that continues to defy expectations and redefine modern warfare itself.